So just to talk a bit more about the housing thing, I got disturbed with the phone call, but yeah, I do first want to make it clear that I don't know what kind of housing schemes there are, and I don't know how many people are getting under, how is it evaluated, how is it worked out, I don't know this. So therefore, I don't feel like I can comment on it unless the information is given to me. But I know that I left London because house prices were too expensive. Even though I was starting to work, even though I was getting massage, even though I was able to earn a lot of money, my rent was more or less what I was making in that year that I moved into the one bedroom flat. The accommodation was 16,000 and I made 20,000 that year. And I spent 2,000 on food. So I spent £2,000 all year on food, maybe even three. I think it was about three because I think that I went to Australia. My mum paid for the holiday, but there was like 10 days where I couldn't work. And so, yeah, I think in total, I made about 4,000, but spent about 3,000. And I know my bank account was only £1,000 more, even though I was living on absolute bare minimum. Like I only eat reduced foods and stuff, so I was never going out. I only went out if my dad was paying for the food. And I only went on one holiday which my mum paid for. So and my bank account money had only risen by £1,000 that year, and I was living on absolute bare minimum. And I think it's incredibly unfair how if I would have paid tax that year, technically I was 20,000, I should have been paying tax, but if I would have been paying tax, I would have actually been in the minus figure. I did not make I did not make 20,000 that year. I did make 20,000 that year, but because my rent was 16,000 a year, technically I only made 4,000 a year. Hence, I shouldn't have been paying tax. But I don't know what the schemes were. I felt like I was too afraid to ask them in case they start saying, "Oh no, you should pay tax, but you need to. If you have housing difficulty, you need to go through." I hate forms. I'm dyslexic. I can't fill out forms. So, but yeah, the whole thing kind of just seemed a bit of a mess to me. I feel like there should be some sort of system where um, the housing is assessed and what the rental is, and there should be some sort of um, system that makes sure that every flat that's being rented out is properly taxed and properly paid for by assessment of average income. And I would love to know though, what would happen if every single person who is on housing benefit suddenly says, okay, this time next year there's not going to be any more housing benefit for anything. It would be complete chaos. But I would love to know what would happen. If you're paying, if your rent is £2,000 a month and the government is paying, 1,500 of that, and you just have to pay 500 of that. How many people are receiving government funding? I don't know. I don't know the question. But if they were to make a sort of drastic decision to say, right, all housing benefit has been completely stopped. Everyone is going to have to move. Everyone who's not able to pay for their own rent is going to have to move. But by doing that, suddenly the market is going to drop. House prices, millions of flats are going to be empty, and millions of people are going to be forced to drop their rent. Now, if millions of people drop their rent, this is going to be really good for the people who are able to afford their rent. Why? Because they'll be able to move out of their overly priced tiny flat and move into a much bigger flat. And it will be far more fair because these are the people who are working. These are the people who are not needing housing benefit. Hence, these are the people who should be getting bigger flats. If you're paying for your own rent, if you're paying it for out of your own salary and stuff, then you should get a bigger place. And if you're someone who's relying on government help to help pay for your rent, the only reason why you are needing help from the government to pay for your rent is because the government is helping so many other people. I mean, I don't know how many people. I can't even say. Maybe I'm wrong about this because I don't actually know how many people are on housing benefit right now. I don't know how many people are not able to afford their own rent. But if all of them stopped, how much would the market drop? And if it drops, would all the people that are able to afford their rent, would they be able to move into something much bigger and better, which would leave all the smaller ones being the ones that aren't wanted? If the government were to buy up all these, because there's these tiny little flats that have like a bed and a tiny little kitchen, and maybe a shared toilet down the hall. There's loads of these little places. Now, if you're on benefits and you need housing benefit, I feel like you should get less. You should get somewhere. No one should be living on the streets. And I suppose if you've got children, then maybe you can do something where you like buy small one bedroom flats and then convert. You see these really good designs of bedrooms where you can take a bedroom and then turn it into like three small bedrooms by having like cubicles, or just cleverly designed. I've seen some cleverly designed stuff where they can turn one bedroom flats into three-bedroom flats. You can do things like this, and if you're someone who can only afford your rent because of government help and government funding, then you need to downsize into one of these one bedroom flats, and the government will help you do that. And because they'll be helping you far less than giving you, because it's just so unfair. This has brought up a whole big issue. My sister showed me a picture of an amazing house, had like a massive living room, dining room, a conservatory, kitchen, four-bedroomed house. And okay, that if Sophie was to move in with this other person, um, it's good for them. And she sent me a nasty Facebook email, and I'm not responding to that. Part of the email said that I'm a text warrior and I'm going to ruin their life, the Sophie's and Marco's and the child's life, and I obviously need to see a doctor. Sorry, but you're the reason why I'm living in Birmingham. You're the reason why I couldn't afford to live in London, because governments were choosing to help give you three-bedroomed houses, but they weren't willing to help people who didn't want to rely on the government. For all the people that the government help with housing arrangements, all they're doing is not helping the people that don't want to rely on the government. I think a great society is a society that where people are determined to not want to live off taxpayer money. Now, I know some jobs are needed, bin payers and schoolings, and there's lots and lots and lots of jobs that are funded by the taxpayer. But because there's so many jobs funded by the taxpayer, I don't understand how the taxpayer is able to afford people who can't afford accommodation. They're encouraging people to be lazy, and because they're lazy, people like this are going to get bitchy towards me. If she's getting £2,000 a month to live in a nice three-bedroomed house, and she wants to upgrade to a four-bedroomed house. I wanted her. I'm happy for her to help Sophie, but it's not up to me. Sophie's not. I don't really get on with my sister. We're not close. I don't see her as even being my sister. I see her as that sort of something that was given into my family. She's not part of my family. And if Lucy is going to refuse to help Sophie now, well, it's not my business. She should be helping because she wants to do the right thing, not because she's doing me a favor. It's got nothing to do with me, you know. But yeah, I what I know for certain is that people should not be living off government government housing benefit, because the more people the government help with luxury big properties, the more they are hurting the other people that don't want to rely on housing benefit. And a good society is where people are trained to not rely on the government. You rely on the government for firemen and for police services, for there's a big long list of things that you need to rely on the government for. If your drink gets spiked, it's nice to know that you're not going to be charged £200 in a hospital. I do think that. I like the NHS. I feel nice knowing that if something happened, I can get free NHS care. But I am also worried that people are abusing it and taking it too far, and getting things done that they don't need to get. If something was wrong with them and they had to pay £100 to fix their problem, would they? If the answer is no, then why should the government pay for it? I mean, £100 is not that much money, and if they really are suffering problems, people need to learn to rely on themselves. And I strongly believe that if someone's relying on the government, it's fine to rely on the government if for police services. But if your house gets caught on fire, if there's some, you know, guy walking around with guns in the street looking like he's about to start shooting at people, yes, it's fine to rely on the government paid services to keep order and stuff. So there are some things that you should rely on the government for, but not housing, not when it comes to your personal situation. You need to learn how to support yourself, how to get your own job, how to pay for your rent, how to look after you. And if you can't do this, then you shouldn't be having kids. Having kids should be a privilege of something you can do. First, you learn to look after yourself, and then you have a kid and you learn to support yourself. And you can't just say, oh, I've got a kid, I can't do this, I need help, I need to turn to the government for help. These are not the people that I think deserve to be helped. The people that deserve to be helped are the people that want to be independent, want to look after themselves, and therefore I don't know what's going on with the housing benefit. I don't know how many people are receiving housing benefit. I don't know how many or the extent of it, or how it's worked out. How are you going to get people into jobs and into employment if it's far better off or far more beneficial for them to not? I know this society is kind of a mess right now because of things like this, but in the world that I would create, in the world that I would want, encouraging people to learn to look after themselves. There is nothing more satisfactory than knowing that you can look after yourself. And, thinking about my best friend's mum, she struggled to get a job, and I was always confused because I think she was very smart, she was very capable, and I think if she just had practice at having a job, I don't know what she's doing now. I think she might have got a job now. I don't know. I think she's still living in the same place, but you know, people need to feel like they don't need others for help. They feel happy knowing, like, okay, yeah, that toilet the toilet flush that I fixed, it did actually break, but I feel happy knowing I was able to fix it a second time. But yeah, it looks like it's going to keep falling off. But I showed that the woman in there, if it falls off, you just clip it back on. I showed her how to do it, and I think there's something nice about knowing that you can look after yourself, you can fix something yourself, you can do something yourself, and you can work and you can do this. And even if it's a horrible, shitty job, just knowing that you are able to support yourself, there is a huge amount of satisfaction in there. And that's what people should be in a proper society. People should be out um, to seek this. And if you're going to get angry at people for telling you this, or for posting a post on Facebook about how unfair it is that there's some people that are spending £850 to live in a squat room and other people are getting a 3 bedroom house, okay, she's going to get angry at me because she doesn't want to lose all her benefits and stuff. And she's probably thinking that she's helping Sophie, but she doesn't realize that helping Sophie doesn't help me. Sophie's never helped me in her life, and therefore I don't want to damn her in any way, but at the same time, I don't really. We're estranged sisters. That's how I feel about it. We're estranged sisters, and um, I feel more sorry for Marco. I like Marco quite a lot, and I don't know. I feel that Marco's a really good person, so I would be more upset about hurting him than my sister or this other woman. That's how I feel. But but yeah, I I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try and stay out of it, but it's um, yeah. I said what I said. The governments need to figure out, teach and train people to not rely on the government unless it's for things like police services or or basic necessities. Bus services as well. America was really bad for bus services, and a very dangerous place. I don't know. England and America are two very, very different places. I think people in England care too much about the poor, that the middle class is probably the one that's suffering because there's huge taxes that I don't even know how they if there's I don't know how many people are on benefits and stuff. And also there's another thing, which is my uncle is on benefits and he's been getting benefits all his life, but at the same time he has bipolar and he was kind of forced into taking huge amounts of drugs, and this huge amounts of drugs have kind of killed his brain cells over a long period of time, and it's very sad. But he is dependent now on the government because of not necessarily something that he chose, but something he was forced into. Like I do think his main problem was stupidity. For example, we went to Tamworth Zoo a few days ago, and there's a bus ride that's like a 10-minute bus ride, and it's a station. I told him to go to this station, and it's just come out the station. The bus is in front of you, and just a 7 minute. And he said, "Oh, I can't go there because I've never been to that station before." Who says that? I'm not, I'm going to a zoo, but I don't want to go to the nearest train station because I've never been there before. I'd rather go to the station that's in the center of Birmingham and then I think it was a 50-minute bus journey from there. So he was more happy going to the station that was a long way away and then taking a 50-minute bus journey that I think turned out to be more like an hour because there was traffic. But he was happier doing that than going to an unknown station. I mean, that's stupidity. But anyway.